The World Cup is upon us, ladies and gentlemen. We are 4 weeks away from the largest spectacle in all of sport. And we've been talking about it for years at this point. And it's so interesting once we've gotten to this point in the cycle, we can reflect on kind of our expectations that we had coming in with this group and kind of where we are right now. Because at the very beginning of this cycle, we looked at these players, Christian Pulisic, Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, and the teams that they played for, some of the biggest clubs in the world. And we circled the 2022 World Cup and said, this is going to be a big one. This is going to be the World Cup that brings American soccer from kind of a niche sport in this country to really the mainstream. We'll fast forward a few years. The World Cup is upon us, and all of a sudden, things are looking little bit weird. I mean, we got this World Cup in the fall. We got all these other things going on in the country with football and basketball and Major League Baseball playoffs and holidays and just all kinds of other things. We got this very problematic World Cup going on in Qatar that a lot of people are not comfortable with. And to make matters all that much more worse, we've got a team that isn't quite living up to the expectations that we set for them so long ago, whether that's because of issues with the coaching, issues with the players at their clubs, issues where players have had to go to different clubs. So today on the show, we're going to ask the question, is this the most important World Cup in American soccer history for the growth of the game in this country? And we're going to come at it from a few different ways. And in order to do so, we are bringing on Vince from the Scuffed podcast, which I'm really excited about. We're bringing in producer Brad, of course, all that and more on this episode of the Yank Report. What's up? My name is Sam. This is the Yank Report, the show about all things American soccer. If you're into that, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. If you really want to support the channel, you can absolutely become a member. Guys, this is a live show. We've got the comment section going. So if you want to get in on the discussion, make sure that you leave a comment. You can also leave a comment afterwards. I'll definitely go through and read those as well. Now, before we jump in, before we bring in Vince and Brad and really get this thing going, I want to take a minute to hear a word from this week's sponsor. Football is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all your football betting needs this season. You'll find the latest odds, matchup info, player news, and game trends. And as your continued source for all wagering info, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, live scores, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports and events like MLB, MMA, tennis, boxing, and even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 100% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. Bet online, where the game starts. And we're back. And let's kick off the show by introducing first our guest. He is one of the contributors to the Scuffed Monday Review Show. He is Vince. Vince, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey, man, thank you for having me. It's an
Vince,
honor. It's an honor.
I want to talk to you about the Monday Review Show and especially sort of the growth of Watke, how he's kind of like risen from just this niche American soccer guy to all of a sudden like he's with the Men in Blazers show. Greg Berhalter's talking about him on press conferences. What is it like working with him week in and week out and seeing him kind of explode across American soccer?
Well, it's kind of something we all knew was coming, right? Like as soon as like the video started coming out from him, it just kind of seemed like he was going to be on a collision course. And as we all know, you know, this American soccer sphere that we're in isn't big at all. So as soon as you saw the traction that Watke was getting, you knew that it was going. And so like, you know, working with him, it's just a great time, man. We had like instant chemistry, you know what I'm saying? And it's just, you know, it's fun every Monday.
Absolutely, man. Really enjoy the show. We've had Bells on before. He's a great time. Brad, how are you doing this week?
I'm good. Coming off of 3 hopeful USMNT player performances in the Champions League, so I'm feeling okay. Hopefully, Serginho Dest's injury is just a little bit of a knock, and we're not going to talk about Christian, whatever the heck happened right before he got subbed off, but I'm feeling good. Those were 3 performances. Gio came out healthy. I'm ready to go.
Absolutely. So let's jump into the show. And as I kind of mentioned in the monologue, we're looking at this World Cup from a lot of different perspectives. And at the start of the cycle, everybody looked at these players, the teams they were playing for, what their potential could possibly be, and said that this 2022 World Cup could be the World Cup that really, to steal a phrase from Greg Berhalter, the World Cup that changes the way the world views American soccer, and maybe more importantly, changes the way that America views American soccer. And as we're only a few weeks out, it seems like a lot's changed in the discourse and in the perspective. So let me start with Vince. Vince, we've had the 1994 World Cup, which was the massive World Cup that kind of kicked off MLS and kicked it off in this country. We've had the 2002 World Cup where the U.S. actually made it to the quarterfinals. 2010, where Landon Donovan had his magical goal. 2014, Jermaine Jones had a magical goal. The U.S. was just in touching distance of the quarterfinal run. What do you think about this 2022 World Cup? Is this the most important World Cup right now at this period in American soccer?
I would say yes and no. Kind of like every World Cup is just a huge opportunity. They're the biggest opportunity possible, man. Just to get this team in front of the country. You know, we go through qualifying. We're in this echo chamber the whole time, and the World Cup is the one time where the doors open. Everyone's in there. Everyone's watching, and so I think it's kind of safe to say that like every single World Cup that comes in has the opportunity to be the most important World Cup ever. And with this, and the one thing for me is just the idea of like soccer hasn't really permeated Black culture the way that I think it can. And so when we see the amount of diversity on this team, when America sees it, I think that's going to really be a watershed moment.
Yeah, I want to get into sort of the pop culture and sort of the celebrity of the American soccer players in a second. Before we do that, Brad, American soccer is at a really interesting point right now. We've seen the growth of MLS to a massive extent. And beyond that, we've seen the American soccer audience has grown exponentially. People are watching the Premier League. They're watching the Champions League. They're watching Liga MX, Serie A, all these great European leagues. It seems like soccer just recently passed up, what was it, hockey as the fourth most popular sport in this country. It seems like this World Cup is really poised at a time where there could be a catalyst where this sport can explode in this country. Do you think that this World Cup could be that moment for American soccer?
Possibly. And I've seen research that on nationally televised games for big games that we would probably call marquee games, it outrates hockey, it outrates baseball, and it's not quite to basketball yet. Basketball and football really have a sizable advantage, but it really has kind of crossed that threshold. There was a video last year of a bunch of college kids in a lecture, and they all have the Champions League game on Paramount Plus going around. So yes, soccer has arrived in America, and I think one of the big things that has led it to this point is the TV contracts are there now. I mean, I remember when we were growing up that, I could not tell you who had the Champions League rights before Turner had it and gave it to CBS. I couldn't tell you where I could have watched the Premier League until I saw the original Ted Lasso ads for NBC Sports that they did. Yeah. So that was a big step. But the World Cup does provide this opportunity that is really unique because there is this narrative, especially coming off the failure that was 2018. There is this narrative. I mean, I'm thinking about inside the NBA when they gave the jerseys after Turner struck a deal with the U.S. men's national team, the U.S. soccer in general. And Sir Charles said, the women are great, the men suck. There is that narrative. There really is that narrative. But there kind of has been this switch among soccer fans in the United States, not so much just the casual sports fans. We have seen the level of play increase exponentially because of where our guys are playing now. Now, most people will have heard of Christian Pulisic. They will have heard of maybe a few guys, but this is a chance for them, especially if it can break into this really condensed schedule that because of the interesting time that this World Cup is being played in. If they can make headlines during that schedule, it really does present a great opportunity to springboard soccer into the home of the everyday American, especially on the men's side. Our women kick ass, we know that. But from a men's perspective, this could be a really great springboard. And I think the date everybody has circled is Black Friday.
Yeah. You bring up a few really interesting points, so I'll bring it back to Vince with this. Brad mentioned the women's national team, and I think if we think about celebrity in this country, and we think about celebrity soccer players, I mean, there's Christian Pulisic to an extent, but I think Alex Morgan, Megan Rapinoe, like some of the big female soccer players have really overshadowed the men whenever it comes to being relevant.
Household names.
Yeah, household names, pop culture. Do you think that there's guys on this team that can enter that in this World Cup? And what does that mean? How important is it to have a true American soccer celebrity in this country?
Do we have people to do it? Absolutely. Like Weston McKennie, we all know how just electric of a person he is, number one. Tim Weah, just being possibly, the coolest man on the planet. I mean,
if he doesn't have a GQ spread after this World Cup, we have failed.
Right.
The fact that the GQ spreads are wasted on Christian Pulisic is the biggest crime. But anyway, go on.
But yeah, we definitely have the star power, man, to do it. And that's why, like, I'm just so excited for what the possibility is. Because like you were saying, bro, we have the soccer fans in this country. It's about conversion. I mean, we all know, people that are Premier League, Serie A fans, blah, 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 that won't give the national team the time of day because of that narrative that you were talking about, that we stink. But as far as characters, man, yeah, we got them. Like, if Weston does this thing in this World Cup, and we give him that platform to be that guy, he can definitely be that guy that has household name recognition across the country. And what it would do, it would just be huge. Like for me, so I really became like a true U.S. men's national team sicko in like 2018, right? And I always watched the games before, but I wasn't like too into it. And like I knew who Landon Donovan was, I knew who Clint Dempsey was, but they never like really grabbed me and like really, they just, their personalities weren't like convincing in that way. And Clint was on the field, but not necessarily like, off the field or whatever. And so, and I keep bringing up Weston, but since we have a guy like Weston, man, like he's captivating on the field and off the field. We already know the type of person he is. So yeah, I think in those two realms he can deliver.
You mentioned the necessity for soccer to start permeating like Black culture and some of the minorities in the United States. I think soccer has traditionally been looked at as like a white sport within the United States, even though that's not necessarily true all over the world. I mean, there's several huge Black stars in the world of soccer. Sure. Does this team have the opportunity to penetrate that market and to get soccer to grow? I guess in hip hop culture and some of the other the pop culture that we have in this country.
Yes, just without a doubt, just because of like I said, the players that we have, man. I mean, like that was probably one of the biggest reasons why I'm here. You know what I'm saying? It's just when I checked back into the national team after not qualifying for the World Cup and everything, I saw the kids that were coming up, and I'm like, hold on, these kids are Black? Like I was just, it really threw me off. I wouldn't expect it. Weston McKennie was really the one that got me. I was like, heard the name Weston McKennie, then I actually saw him. I was like, oh, whoa, okay. And, it's just kind of gone from there. But yes, like these are, it's just, we talk about representation and all that stuff. It's just that, having representation. And if we have it, then you'll see it take off. But what we have to do is succeed and captivate the nation so we can get these players in front of, the eyeballs.
Brad, let me ask you, what do you think that what would it look like post World Cup? How will we know if American soccer players have really crossed over into pop culture? What do we need to look for to see that these guys have become true stars that they aren't right now?
So I'll never forget what made, to borrow Vince's term, me a USMNT sicko. And it was Landon's goal in 2010 against Algeria. That moment was just a watershed sports center moment. That needed to be capitalized on. And it needed to be capitalized on by having Landon Donovan have his own razor commercial, have something, be on a billboard somewhere. This guy needs to be thrown. You have that moment. You have been begging for that moment for the U.S. men's national team on the biggest stage to have that, where you can point to it. You can, it's gone viral on Twitter. It's everything like that. Now you take that guy and you put him, you make him unmissable in a marketing sense. I mean, I'm really hopeful that we have a moment like that. And since we're talking about Weston, let's use Weston. Weston uses his noggin and bangs home a header that sends us to the knockout round, or maybe sends us to the round of 8. Fingers crossed. He needs to have Subway commercials. He needs to have a Gillette endorsement, everything like that. Because if you can't miss him, then it's going to keep growing. Then you're going to have people buying Juventus shirts. I mean, there are talks about him transferring to the Premier League. I don't care. It's going to be great. He's going to be a personality anywhere that he goes. And that personality is what you need to capitalize on. Yes, Landon Donovan didn't really have that gravitas, didn't really have the kind of look at me kind of thing that that Weston does. Weston likes the big stage. Weston likes having the camera pointed at him. It's obvious, and he's good. He's good at it. I mean, he's a character. I mean, everybody knows that clip when I think he had just arrived at Juventus, and the reporter asked him a question in Italian, and he goes, everybody loves that because he's that funny. He's that kind of guy. He needs to be thrown. I mean, I love Christian. I love watching Christian play. I think he is going to be a great player in a very big focal point. Christian hates doing media shit. He does not like it, and he's not very good at it. Okay, great. Do your talking on the pitch. Weston, Tim Weah, Tyler Adams. Gio doesn't really have that yet. But I can't remember a U.S. men's national team player really featuring in a commercial. I mean, there was Tim Howard in that Nike commercial, but he was one of many. The one where he turned into the Hulk and he was wearing the green kit. It was before the Brazil or World Cup, I think it was. But other than that, where have we seen these guys in the public eye other than on the field? And it needs to be more than just on the field.
Yeah, there's been Americans featured in ads before, but it generally tends to be like soccer-related ads that you'll see during soccer games. Like Christian Pulisic's in a few ads right now. What we're talking about is that real crossover where, it's the same type of ads that you would see like Peyton Manning or Drew Brees or I don't know, Aaron Rodgers. We need one of these guys selling State Farm insurance. I feel like Tyler Adams could be selling State Farm insurance right now. That wouldn't be out of the question at all. Yeah, I think best case scenario for me would be Weston McKennie having a huge moment and Ricardo Pepi having a huge moment. I mean, we haven't talked about the Mexican audience in this country and what that would mean if he somehow has a huge World Cup. Ricardo Pepi, I mean, that would be massive to win some of those Mexican American fans that we know is I think the biggest soccer fan base. I think by demographic. I think I heard that recently.
Liga MX is the highest rated. Those games rate the highest in the United States, like by far.
So let me start out here. Vince, which American soccer player do you think is most likely to date a celebrity after the World Cup?
So I've thought about this quite a bit, and I'm gonna say Brendan Aronson.
Oh,
well, you know what? He has a girlfriend.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's pretty wiped up. I'm pretty sure
he is wiped up. Now that I think about it,
just make your case. Still,
he just seems like that dude. You could see Brendan. I guess it's like the Timothy Chalamet vibes.
Timothy, that's what Raj calls him.
Right.
From Men Blazers.
You could just see that man on the red carpet. You know what I'm saying? Accompanying somebody to the Oscars or whatnot. Like I feel like I could see that. Weston feels like too obvious of an answer. I don't know. I just don't see it happening. He's got a little bit too much going on. You have to have a little bit of Weston's not gonna be in the shadow of anybody. You know what I'm saying? If you're dating a real celebrity, like you're gonna have to take the back seat a little bit. And I just can't see Weston doing it. And Pulley I don't.
No Pulisic.
I think
that's an interesting answer. I didn't think about that at all.
I think the Yunus Musa shout is not a bad. I could see him dating someone like huge, but keeping it quiet.
Well, Eunice is like 18, so that's I don't know how.
Yeah,
Brad, let's. Who do you think is the most likely to date a celebrity following the World Cup?
Oh my gosh. I feel like there might be some shockers. I think Weston is way too easy. I think that's kind of our free space on our bingo card there.
Right.
Maybe Gio. If Gio shows out, I feel like he could. Do you remember? It was a few years ago. Katy Perry was the guest picker on College Game Day, and she called out Brock Purdy. I could see Gio having a big moment and some celebrity on a late night show being like, that Gio Reyna, he's cool.
I can't see Gio going to a party without having a wrinkled shirt. Like I feel like all of Gio's clothes are wrinkled, and I don't see him. Then again, he did wear that high-end fashion sweater to the U.S. soccer camp.
Right.
I mean, who knows? I don't know. For me, I feel like the answer is clearly Tim Weah. I feel like he's got the pedigree. His dad's the president of Liberia. He comes in already kind of like that rich kid vibe. So I think he'd fit in well with that. I feel like he could easily pop up on like the Kardashians or something like that, dating one of the Jenner sisters or something. I feel like he would fit in super well in that world. And I think he's the first ballot for me.
I could see it. I could see it for sure.
I could absolutely see it. Yeah. You know what? Now that I think about it, he was courtside at a bunch of Knicks games. I could definitely see him. Yeah. That's not a bad shout.
If we're talking about the coolest players on the team, I think like Weah and Yedlin are a little bit ahead of everybody else. And I feel like of Weah and Yedlin, I feel like Weah just has a worldliness about him. Just, kind of growing up sort of. He's Liberian. He has a lot. He spent a lot of time in France. Spent a lot of time in the U.S. and he just seems a very cultured individual. And is also pulling down a pretty nice paycheck over there in France. And his dad is a celebrity, and he just got it all going on.
Dad won a Ballon d'Or.
And I think he's like the one single guy that we've named on.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think Yedlin's pretty cool. I mean,
I'm pretty sure Gio has a girl. Yedlin. Yes, for sure.
Yedlin's married.
So Tim, I think, is the one single person we've named.
And people are pointing out that Sebastian Lletget is legitimately dating a celebrity right now. So I guess I don't think he's going to make the World Cup squad, but I guess that's something to be said.
Oh, sir.
Please no.
I mean,
can't do it.
Lletget has even while he was a national team player, I don't know if it's because Becky G is just not as big in I guess American culture as she is in like Mexican culture or whatever, but he never really got the respect he deserved for dating a legitimate pop star at the top of her game. But I guess that's neither here nor there. Let's move on to the next topic I want to discuss, and that is some of the opponents that the U.S. is going to face in the World Cup. Now, coming into this discussion, and I think coming into the last few weeks, it feels like people have been a little bit more down on this squad than at any point throughout World Cup qualifying and beyond. That the way we played in the last window was just not very exciting at all and doesn't fill us all with much confidence. However, as we get closer to the World Cup, whenever you look at the squads that we're facing, I mean, we'll put England aside for right now. This Iranian national team, if you've caught up with some of the news with them, I mean, there are people petitioning for this squad to be removed from the tournament because of some of the stuff going on within the country. There's a lot of unrest within the country. I won't get into all of it, but the treatment of women in the country and sort of rebellion to the government. There's a lot of questions being asked of the national team as to whether or not they support the government or they support the people. Is this national team an instrument of the government, or are they an instrument of the people? A lot of political discussions going on. I'm not going to ask you guys to comment on the political discussions going on with the Iranian national team, but just understand that they're coming in with a ton of turmoil. I think a lot more than we've experienced at all throughout this entire cycle. And then we look at Wales, and whenever the U.S. pulled Wales as one of the members of the group, the big thing that we all worried about was Gareth Bale. How is Gareth Bale going to eat up our defense, our center backs who are not the strength of this team? How are they going to fare against one of the world's best attackers? And Gareth Bale has since then moved to MLS and just hasn't really played much at all. He's been a fixture on the bench for LAFC, hasn't featured much in the playoffs, and does not seem like someone who is really someone you should fear if you're a national team facing Gareth Bale as the biggest danger man. So let me start with Brad on this question. Brad, understanding the issues that the U.S. has and that we're coming in with and all the baggage that we're carrying right now, how has, the way that things have played out with some of our opponents affected your expectations as we head into this tournament?
Well, I think a lot about how I wish we had a longer run up to this tournament, because I think we can Gareth Bale, the golfer, nice. I think that would have really helped our guy. I mean, obviously it would have helped our guys a lot because they're younger and give them a little bit more time to kind of gel. But I think the short run up will play into our advantage, because once you get into that group and you can kind of shut out all the noise, there's noise coming in from a lot of places. And honestly, it's making me think of England more, just as much as it is Wales and Iran, because England is coming off of some bad results as well. And they are constantly hounded by the press in their country. I mean, just from week to week, whether it's club form or national team form. I mean, every single Premier League game, if Gareth Bale is within shouting distance, they'll shove a camera in his face and say, hey, those results against Hungary, you lost to them twice. How's this going to affect us come World Cup time? That's not going to be far from these guys' minds. And I think in regards to Wales, I think Wales is actually one of the teams I'm the most worried about, because I think I just have that image in my head of the Welsh team with Gareth Bale with the flag that they had, and it had sewn onto it Wales golf. And Wales golf and something else in that order, and that just makes me think of that. And I'm just like, oh gosh, he turns into a superhero when he puts on the green dragon shirt. He does, and that's the one thing that actually scares me the most. And I just think that, honestly, I think our World Cup fate could be decided in the first 45 minutes of this tournament. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, how you fare in your first game of the World Cup does make a huge impact on whether or not you get out of the group. If you lose that first game, historically, it's very difficult to get out of that group. Vince, I'll put the question to you. The U.S. did not look too hot in its last two friendlies. However, two of these opponents that we're going up against are going through some things right now. And then there's this England squad that is just always FC Hollywood. They're always got issues going on with their squad. And for whatever reason, I guess as Americans, like, we always feel like we have a shot against England. I don't know why. They're the one super team that the U.S. just feels like we can beat these guys. How are you feeling going into this tournament?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. Maybe it's just, the eternal optimist in me and just the faith that I have in these boys, that I just think once we're there, we're gonna turn it up. Now, is there true evidence to back my claims? Probably not, you know. You know what I'm saying? But for me, when we were announced with Wales, I go back and I looked at their past matches, and if you look at who they've actually beaten, it's not many teams. Not they beat Ukraine, right, to advance to the World Cup, and they've beaten Austria, and that's about it as far as like name team. They've beaten Estonia, Belarus, things like that, and so their resume isn't any more impressive than ours, really, when I look at it. So I mean, they do have Gareth, you know what I'm saying, and they 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 got some more guys too. They got some guys that'll be threats, like Brennan Johnson for Nottingham Forest is a quick guy, who's gonna give us some problems probably. Dan James, where we should be familiar with him from Leeds. He's not that good, but he can run. He is fast, and they do set up a very stout block, that's hard to penetrate. I don't know if y'all watched that Wales Poland match from the last window, but it took Poland a long time to break through, and it took basically a moment of class from Lewandowski for them to score, and they won the match 1-0. But we don't have Robert Lewandowski. So, and Iran, yes, they're going through some things politically, but they got a guy. I don't know if y'all been keeping up with Mehdi Taremi for Porto. Just had a brace today against Bruges. Hell of a striker. Possibly a guy that could be the best player on the field when we play them. So I say all that to say they were still getting out the group, baby. I don't worry about any.
Yeah, Taremi's terrifying. Taremi's one of those guys. I saw some stats from him today. He's one of those guys that has like 100 goals in 100 matches or something like that. He has been an absolute scoring machine for Porto, and his strike partner, who I think is injured right now. I can't recall.
It might be the guy from Leverkusen, I think.
Yeah, he's the guy. I forget his name, but he is. I mean, their top two players are probably their two strikers, and they are the guys. I think I saw a stat that they've accounted for like 12 of Iran's last 18 goals or something like that. They're a very top-heavy team. They're going to play in a low block, and they're going to look to get honest with their top two guys, who have been very efficient, and that's very scary considering that's the same sort of setup that we had against Canada, and we really struggled with that. Now, those guys aren't speed merchants the way that the Canadian front line can be, but it's still, a well-disciplined team that has a lot of experience and has some strikers up top who can score goals. I mean, that's a recipe for disaster. It looks like BMR here gave us his name, Sadar Osman. Yeah, he's a player. They also got a pretty good center back. I forget that guy's name as well. But Vince, I want to know specifically whenever it comes to Gareth Bale, are you afraid of Gareth Bale right now?
No, just because I always just kind of have this. I don't fear anybody. When I'm. I mean, not that I'm playing in the game or anything, but I'm just not going to lose sleep over anybody that I guess isn't Messi. You know what I'm saying? We can pocket anybody on a day, and I feel like most of the time when you see these Gareth Bale's like wonder moments, you know what I'm saying, it's him lining up a shot from 20-25 yards or something, and just banging it in. So it's like, yo, let's try and keep our fouls to a minimum and dangerous free kick areas, and just don't let that man breathe. And I think we should be okay. He's not pulling anything out as far as like the old Gareth Bale, as far as going on a crazy run, just incredible
running out of bounds for 30 yards and then
right
back
yes,
in.
yes doing crazy. Yeah, he's not doing that anymore. So we should be able to keep him in check. That this could be a famous last words type situation, but I think our chances are good against Gareth.
I love this comment from BMR 209. If we build a golf course close to the Wales home base in Qatar, do you think that Bale will forget about the World Cup? I'll be honest, guys. I've never really looked into Gareth Bale and his love for golf. I don't really know that much about it. Mike Irish is in the chat. He probably knows a little something about this. He's a big golfer. But I'm very well aware of the meme, and it is one of my favorite memes in all of soccer, that Gareth Bale is this big golfer and he cares more about golf than soccer. soccer. I appreciate that. And I do remember the flag that it said like golf, Wales, and Real Madrid in that order.
Right.
Let's wrap this segment up with Brad. What are you worried about from these teams, specifically Wales and Iran? Do you think that these are two victories for the U.S.?
I think they should be, and I think if we get a few chances early and get that confidence, get that swagger, I think our guys are very big momentum vibe guys. I think if we get a good feeling early, I think we'll be fine. The one thing I worry about is Wales is a Gareth Bale wonder strike, like happened against Ukraine to put him through. I think it did take a deflection though, but those special players do have special moments in them. I worry about breaking Iran down in a low block because we saw that against Saudi Arabia and we had issues with that. And those are the two main things that scare me. With against England, go for it. Lose 5-0, win 4-2. Who cares? Just go for it. But I don't know. I do think some of Greg's comments have been interesting about focusing. Somebody asked him something to the effect of like, "Were you game planning for Japan and Saudi Arabia?" And he said something to the effect of like, "We've been focusing on our opponents for the World Cup." So that makes me think that there is a clear laid out plan for Wales, and if we can pull off that game plan and get a win, I think we're going to be fine and get out of the group.
Yeah, Weston McKennie was asked a question, I believe, about Japan, and his answer was like, "I haven't watched any film on Japan. I don't really know anything about him." And it was like the day before the game. Maybe next time, Wes, just lie or like don't.
So that was that Weston and Tyler press conference that they had where they were just laughing and having a ball before we gave the ball away a million times.
Before they absolutely got trucked. All right, guys, I want to move on to our last topic of the day, and that is that there seems to be a new nemesis emerging in the world of American soccer, and that is CBS correspondent and former, I believe he won the Ballon d'Or. If not, he should have during his tenure. Thierry Henry, one of the greatest strikers of his generation, one of the great strikers for Arsenal, and then he had moved on to Barcelona, finished up his career in MLS, and lately he's been taking some shots at some Americans, man. I mean, a few months ago there was the moment where he was discussing Christian Pulisic, and he mentioned that he's a great player in transition, but can he do it against a low block? There was the moment where they were talking about Christian Pulisic, and he said he's got to show it to us on the field. I don't care about all this other stuff. All I care about is what he's doing on the field. Recently, there was Christian Pulisic's assist, and he said, that's not an assist for me. Just a wonderful moment there from Thierry Henry. And then I think the coup de grace was whenever he was asked about the upcoming U.S. squad with all this young talent, and he had Mo Adu and a few of the other former national team players next to him, and he said, "I think the generation to my left was better," referencing, I think, the 2010 generation, maybe 2014. I can't recall who exactly it was. But what do we make of all this smoke that Thierry Henry keeps sending to the U.S. men's national team? Vince, let's start with you.
All right. So I was with him on a few things, like the Pulisic stuff, where he was like, basically what he was saying was no matter the situation, you got to get yourself out of it. Like no amount of crying or whining is gonna help you. You just got to produce. And basically, like I'm with him on that one. But yeah, yesterday he jumped the shark for me, man. He jumped the shark. Because number one, yes, he said like Mo Adu and them were better than this current generation. And he added the thing that got me is he added that they were mentally tougher. And I was like, man, like for what? How? Why? Like where is this coming from? These are, we got young kids leaving America at 16, 17, 18, going to big clubs, fighting for spots every day and winning spots, winning starts, winning caps in the Champions League, scoring goals in the Champions League. And you're going to take a shot at their mental toughness. Like you don't succeed or survive or even last on the team more than one season at a big club if you're not mentally tough. So it's things like that that really get me. When people pull out words like soft and talk about mental toughness and all that, I'm just like, man, for what? You know, you use anything else, but that stuff really gets me. So
Brad,
yeah,
let me
man.
ask. Oh, I'm sorry. Keep going, Vince.
I'm an Arsenal fan, and TT he's a legend. But yeah, watch your mouth, bro. Watch your mouth.
Brad, let's ask you: does Thierry Henry hate America?
Well, I just think of Coach Beard that one night, the Night Out with Coach Beard episode of Ted Lasso. Screw you, Thierry Henry. I've been thinking that to myself all week after hearing him say what he said. Listen, TT's a legend. I mean, he's one of the best to ever do it. But when you're on TV, you're paid to get eyeballs on you, and it doesn't hurt when you're on an American network to say outlandish things against America, because there's no such thing as bad press, and eyeballs are going to come if you say nice things or if you say mean things. And as we all probably know, having been in the internet game a little bit, the mean things get a lot more clicks. And I'm not saying that's his motivation. I'm saying it's something that could possibly be playing a role. In regards to the mental toughness, I mean, and we've talked about it, the "you don't know where I'm from" dog of Clint Dempsey. My favorite gift to send to people when I'm mad at them is him against Jamaica and Columbus.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think this team absolutely has that. I just think it's not as focused as it could be because these guys are so young. It's kind of coming from a bunch of different places. And we've talked about this. They do need that kind of older dude to kind of circle the wagons around them. And that's what I have to say about that mental toughness. These guys are tough. I mean, Joe Scally and Gio Reyna are jumping ship. Maybe not Gio. Gio's been built for this. He was designed for this. I mean, sure. But think about Tyler, going up big in his debut against Chelsea in a friendly when he was, 15, 16 years old and scoring a header. I mean, and then making the jump to Leipzig, then coming over to Leeds and just not missing a beat. Weston, who everyone was saying, he was even asked about it in his introductory press conference at Juve. Oh, you're a marketing signing. Oh, you're this, you're that. And then he works his way into the starting lineup. He scores big goals in big moments. If that's not mental toughness, I don't know what is. So I don't really know what to say to him at that point. And the whole Pulisic stuff, free yourself thing, because free Pulisic, yes and no. I think there's a whole different wrinkle in there with the American ownership being there and him being I know we said about marketing signing with Weston, Todd Bowley is not going to give away his biggest American asset. I mean, that was definitely played a role in his transfer saga. But these guys definitely are mentally tough. And for Pooley for sticking it out and working his way in, yes, his assist did count. I mean, he sucked it. I was thinking about this. That goal did not go in because of him, but without him, that goal does not happen, if sure. That makes sense.
For sure.
Yes, it was an absolute wonder strike, but he sucked in 4 defenders that gave Kai Havertz the space to be able to make that shot. Mm-hmm. So for stuff like that, I chalk that up to, you're on TV, you got to say stuff. But I don't think he hates Americans. I think he's just becoming a very, very good TV pundit.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch Christian Pulisic, I mean, part of what makes him great is he's kind of a merchant of chaos. I mean, he gets the ball and he drives towards defenders and things happen. Sometimes he's able to beat those defenders and get a shot off or whatever. But even if he loses the ball in that area, it can still lead to goals. Even if his cross doesn't meet other people's feet, it can still lead to things happening. He just unbalances players with his ability to dribble. And I think we saw that on that assist. Where he penetrated, he sucked in 4 players, and he was able to make that square ball where it gave Kai Havertz, because the center back had stepped towards Pulisic, it gave Kai Havertz that extra foot that he needed in order to put the ball in the back of the net. I mean, it was an incredible shot from Kai Havertz, but that's sort of what Christian Pulisic does and what he brings to the table. Whenever he's at his best, that's what he's able to do. But I do love those moments where the group, the panel on CBS or Paramount Plus is talking about the Champions League and talking about Mbappe and talking about all these great players. And then they put a question to Thierry Henry specifically about an American player, specifically about Pulisic, or like they reference Clint Dempsey, who's also at the desk. Vince, step into Thierry Henry's custom fitted suit. What is going through his mind whenever he goes from talking about Mbappe and Messi to having to answer this question about Christian Pulisic, who just played 15 minutes and was largely didn't do much to the game?
Yeah, that's the thing. I know he has to get sick of it at some point because like you said, it's like we got these big players playing, we got big time performances, we got big time ramifications on the line. With Barca not making it to knockouts and things like that, and I at home am feeling like this is kind of force fed.
Yeah.
So I know Thierry is like, I mean, come on again. Like I know he knows that he's working for CBS. You know what I'm saying, but. I know in his mind he has to be like, yo, come on. We need to talk about the big players and what's really going on here, not this bit player for Chelsea.
Do you think Thierry Henry respects Clint Dempsey as a player? I think about that all the time. You do?
I think so because he did his bit at Fulham. Yeah. I think so. He did his bid in Fulham. He did his bid in European competition. I think he respects Clint. Yes.
I'll give full disclosure to everybody out there. I love Thierry Henry's takes on CBS. I love hearing his perspective. To me, he's a top of the food chain athlete. He's a guy that became one of the absolute best players of his generation. Just a Ballon d'Or type top 5 player in the world at his peak. And players like that, I mean, to steal a phrase, they have the Mamba mentality. He's like Kobe Bryant. He's like Michael Jordan. He's like these top of the food chain elite athletes. And they see the world differently, man. They have a different level of competitiveness and a different expectation for themselves and for their teammates. And they don't suffer fools. They expect the player to make that play. They expect themselves to make that play. And whenever they see players who just aren't quite on that level and people are pretending like they are, they don't, they're not going to beat around the bush whenever it comes to that type of thing. And I really appreciate hearing his perspective in that way. Now, at the same time, it is only his perspective, and that is a perspective of someone who sees the world through those super freak eyes of the super competitive, super elite athlete. There are certainly other perspectives out there. It is interesting to hear the juxtaposition between Henry and somebody like Micah Richards, who, while he had a great career and was a great player, just never was at the peak the way that the way Henry was, or somebody like Mo Adu and Clint Dempsey, guys who were very good, got to their national team and played at a high level, but weren't on that level of their careers where they were among the best players in the world. All these different perspectives are interesting and all add something, but I do appreciate that unfiltered Thierry Henry, just absolute evisceration of whatever he sees in front of him. Brad, do you have anything to add to the end of that?
Not really. I mean, look, we can always just hold over the fact that he wasn't a good enough coach to coach an MLS.
Yeah, I mean, in the fallout of all that, I saw an absolute scorching take from Eric Winalda, who just absolutely took down Thierry Henry and finished it with like he was a great player and a terrible coach, which is like, oh man. I felt like if I recall, Thierry Henry ended his coaching career in MLS because he wanted to be closer to his family in France, which either could be true or could be a way for him to get out of a tough situation. Either way, I don't know. Thierry Henry reached a level as a player, but I don't think he had to prove anything else in his coaching career. I mean, he'll be that dude to the day that he dies. But I think this is a good place to end it. Vince, I want to give you the last word. I want you to look into the camera and let everybody know who might be worried about this World Cup that's approaching, worried that this might be a 3-and-out for the U.S. and that we're going to get embarrassed. I want you to deliver that speech and tell them why they should be fired up and tell them why the U.S. is going to get out of the group.
Well,
and believe it, Vince. Believe it.
I mean, if I can keep it simple, man, I'm gonna say MMA, McKinney, Musa, Tyler Adams. Me personally, I'm putting that midfield up against anybody. If we have those three, I'm putting them up. Yeah, against anyone in the absolute world. I'm backing them boys to just do their thing, to win duels, to recover possession, to keep the ball when needed, and I think they're gonna be way to success. And and it's been a little process for Weston at this beginning of the season, but we're seeing that he's chugging into form now. It takes a while. It always takes a while for Weston, but he's solidified that spot in the Juventus lineup, and the performances are starting to get stacked on top of each other. And we see what Tyler's doing specifically. I mean, he's absolutely balling, and Eunice is too. And like I said,
Liverpool's targeting him.
huh?
Liverpool's targeting him.
Right, right. So I'm basically the reason why I still have faith is just those three guys. Those three guys together, when they're together, man, it's something that becomes more something that's greater than the sum of the parts. And so I just don't see anybody really stopping us with those three.
I'm seeing a little bit of an anti-McKinney movement right now on Twitter. I don't know if you've noticed that, where I see people saying that it should be
I see it.
Musa, Adams, and Gio, or Musa, Adams, and Aronson in that midfield. What do you have any response to the anti-McKinney movement that's starting right now?
I have a little sympathy for it, especially if we go with the double pivot shape that we showed against Morocco and Uruguay in that June window. But I just feel like Weston is like, you talked about having that Clint Dempsey moment. Weston's like the heart and soul of the team. To me, that's the way I view it. So I think I think we have to have him out there when the going gets tough. He's the one that gets going, man. We saw it in the Nations League final. You know what I'm saying? Basically, and in the whole Nations League, really all the goals we scored came as a result of Weston and his head mostly. But what Waukie's actually been saying this a lot on the Monday Review. For us to get out the group, we need a Weston header goal, and I think we do. That seems to be one of our more consistent revenue streams is Weston's head for sure. So he has to be out there, man.
I mean, we need goals by any means necessary. We've been struggling to get them in all ways at this point. So, yeah, those set piece goals, those Weston McKinney goals. I think the big thing is, what kind of Weston McKinney are we going to get? Are we going to get the Weston McKinney who played against Japan? Or are we going to get that great Weston McKinney that we absolutely know he can be, where he's dominating on offense, he's dominating on defense, he's making 40-yard runs to shut down counterattacks, he's making 40-yard runs to join counterattacks for the U.S.'s side. He's flying through the air. He's winning every ball, and he's just being that absolute beast. That guy who, I mean, just retired Hector Herrera in the U.S.-Mexico game in November. I mean, on, just embarrassed them boys out there.
If you saw Ache's face after that match, he looked like he had just been ran through a washing machine and dryer. You know what I'm saying? He came. He was looking around like, bro, what just happened to me? And that's the effect that MMA can have, man. It's just so active, so much activity, man, and Eunice just making everybody look stupid. It's gonna happen. It's happening.
Brad, I want to give you a final word. You know, we've been having these discussions week over week, and I think as we're getting closer to the World Cup, it feels like we're ramping up a little bit. It feels like the excitement is building a little bit more and more after we were in the lowest of lows after the Japan and Saudi Arabia games. Are you getting a little bit more excited? Is the results in the Champions League from some of the players getting you a little bit more excited? Is there a little bit more belief in this team?
Yes, I just want to say one thing. I think that double pivot with Gio playing more centrally could be interesting, and I wouldn't be surprised if it came out in it versus England, actually. But back to your question. One of the things, I mean, everything gets me excited every time an American does anything, I get excited because I'm a nut. I mean, I'm wearing my 2014 jersey because I was thinking about Serginho Dest's quote about Jermaine Jones's goal. I remember when Jermaine Jones scored that goal, I was freaking out in my parents' living room. It was amazing. And it's always the best. And I think one of the things that's going to put a lot of eyeballs in this is I'm really excited for the Netflix documentary about FIFA that's coming out. I think that's going to drum up a lot of excitement because we all know, I mean, I don't know if you guys have been listening to the Men in Blazers and Pod Save America guys about the World Corrupt podcast. I think that's really interesting. And I think there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on this World Cup. And even though it is in a congested time zone in American sports, but I think there's always a reason to believe. And I think there's always, I mean, we were founded on optimism. We were founded on, we can always be better. And there's always a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, to borrow a quote from Walt Disney. Yes, I am that big of a nerd. There always is a reason for us to have hope. And every time Christian Pulisic gets a semi-assist, according to Thierry Henry in the Champions League, every time Gio, I mean, if he scores again, I mean, by the way, how much could you just see that kid just have like a 2-ton boulder lifted off his shoulder when he scored that goal this week?
Oh, yeah.
It was amazing. I mean, there's always going to be something. If Josh Sargent's scoring in the championship, or if Ricardo Pepi, God bless his agent, because he's scoring goals and he's going to come into the World Cup with confidence. We're going to do it. I don't care. Every single time that happens, I go, you know what? If we spring a surprise if we just do something. I mean, yes, it could be, just a little something from Serginho Dest and AC Milan that gets me excited. But I'm always going to get excited. And I think that if we get one or two big moments, the momentum that this tournament can carry over into 2026, the sport that we love will be just on the front page everywhere. I mean, I didn't even know this, but in 1994, not all the games were broadcast live in the U.S. The tournament was in the U.S. Now we're living in this soccer utopia, basically. We can watch anything, anywhere. And guess what? There are American kids doing it. When you turn on your TV, and it's gonna be fine. We're gonna be great. We're gonna be 3-0, aren't
we? No shot,
bro. And that's
gonna pull something out.
That's the thing for me, man. Like, that's why I'm here, man. I'm here to have fun. I'm here to have hope. I'm here to just. I
believe and believe.
Yeah, man. I'm here to have fun, man. And being all doom and gloom, that's not fun. That's not fun. Look, I mean, win, lose, draw. I'm gonna be with my guys, man. Like, I back them through thick and thin, back them through anything. So here we go. I mean, World Cup, man. We made it. You know what I'm saying? We made it. It's been a long time. Like we're.
It's been a long 4 years. It absolutely has. Well, really 5 years if you think about when we were eliminated. I mean.
Right.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about this too. If and when we show well, the World Cup, the next World Cup, 2026 here, isn't 4 years away. It's 3.5, a little bit less than 3.5 years away. Yeah. And there's going to be a year-long rollout to it, so it's not going to be that far away. It's not like we're going to be sitting on our hands for so long. It's going to be coming thick and fast.
Mm-hmm.
All right, boys, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. Just to review, just to bring it all around. We're not sure if this is the most important World Cup in American soccer history. We do think this could be the World Cup that really launches our first true American celebrities in pop culture from this World Cup. We really think that Weston McKennie is going to be that guy that America falls in love with, though we think that Brendan Aronson might be the guy that low-key dates a celebrity somehow, just pops up on a red carpet. That is such a good take, man. The opponents that the U.S. are facing in Wales and Iran, they're giving us a little bit of hope that things might not be so great on the grass might not be greener on the other side of the field, which means that the U.S. maybe we can, catch a team while it's down, catch them slipping, and get by. And Thierry Henry might be an enemy of American soccer at this point. That we might have to come out with that. I think that's hey, we're still optimistic. We think. We're not sure.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes,
absolutely.
Without a doubt.
This is the country that brought you Ted Lasso. Yes, we're optimistic.
Yeah, one thing about following soccer is that you get to see like some of the other fans from other countries, and one thing that really a juxtaposition between the American fans and fans from other countries is we are just an optimistic and at times arrogant, at times overly excited culture, and we're going to be coming in with the optimism, and we're going to be celebrating our boys. And if they pull off that win against England, we're going to be like, I told you so. I knew it. All right, guys, let's wrap it up right there. Vince, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. Really appreciate it. Some really great takes. Tell everybody where they can follow you if they want to get more Vince in their life.
Oh, yeah, you follow me on Twitter at @V_so spiffy. Scuffed podcast, you know what I'm saying? We're about to. Most of our Monday reviews have been behind the paywall on Patreon, but we're gonna make most of them public leading up to the World Cup, so you can catch me, Bells, Waukee, doing our thing. We got a historic review coming out. We're reviewing 2010 England. That'll be coming out soon on the public feed. So man, just the Scuff podcast, man. Just follow Scuff Pod on Twitter, and subscribe on any podcast app.
Yeah, follow the Scuff Podcast, become a Patreon member. You can get access to the Discord, which is very lively. I kind of lurk there. I don't really ever comment, but I do appreciate the Scuff Podcast, one of my absolute favorite listens. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're not yet a subscriber, please consider subscribing to the channel. We got we're going to have a ton of American soccer coming up, leading up to the World Cup. And during the World Cup, we're going to be trying to push out as much content as we can possibly deliver to all you guys. Thank you so much for watching. As Tom says, hit the like button so more people get to see this video. And if you really want to support the channel and take that next step, you can become a member. As a member, you're directly supporting the channel. You get access to badges and some other behind-the-scenes cool perks. Thank you guys so much for watching. On behalf of Brad and Vince, my name is Sam, and this is the Yank Report, brought to you by Bet Online.